We have a problem with a backup camera on Gemini here, Airstream travel trailer, and that's that the camera itself is filled up with water. So when I view the image on the monitor in the truck, it's like the worst foggy day that you've ever seen. So today we're going to be replacing the camera and monitor on the Airstream. We'll be replacing the existing Voyager system with this BT7 system from Haloview. Now, I do want to let you know that Haloview did send us this system at no cost for us to install and review on this YouTube channel. But they have zero input as to the type of video that we're going to do, our ultimate review, what it's going to be, or anything about the video. So what we're going to do is in real time, we're going to stumble through the installation of everything, reading the manuals as we go, and getting this system hooked up for safer travels down the road. So let's open up the box and look at what all is in here. Here's the monitor, obviously, which is nice. It's a wide screen, and I do want to let you know that the camera that they're providing in the screen is a 1080p, so it's a much higher resolution than the system that came installed on our Airstream. Here's the camera, and it looks like it's got lights, and there's some kind of microphone, they say. I see it's got a rain shield on it, which is looks kind of nice, and then mounting hardware, and then, of course, the electrical connection to hook it up. There's a place right there where the antenna goes. It looks like I'm going to have to install this with their plate and their mounting hardware, so we're going to have to remove the entire plate and mechanism of that Voyager camera and mount this, and there's got to be some type of, yeah, here it is, some type of weather seal, a rubber guard and seal and everything, and how that is going to make sure we're watertight back there. There's a couple different types of mounts in here. There's a, not wrap these all over the place. There's a suction cup mount that is available that we can suction cup to the window or something that'll work with that. And then there's a sticky mount. I kind of have an aversion to sticky mounts going on things, but who knows? We may find that this one works better. This one has a little bit of weight to it, I notice. So it's possible that I'll just use this and have it set on the dash for our mounting purposes. Okay, so that's the mounts. There's the camera. I did read some of the instructions earlier, and they said one of the things that we need to do right away is pair the camera with the unit. And they say that they have a specialized cable for that. And I gotta say, that's one thing that they really have in here, is there's all kinds of cables and mounts and different things for all types of different applications. The monitor can either be powered through the cigarette lighter, the 12-volt cigarette lighter, and that'll plug into the side of the monitor, or it can also be powered via USB, which I think would be really handy because we use the cigarette lighter plug for our TPMS system, and we've got 2 or 3 extra USB ports here in the truck that we should be able to plug this into, and it should work quite well for us. But one of the connectors that they have is designed, they'll plug in the cigarette lighter, and then you plug in this, and then one of these will plug into the monitor and one into the camera, and it's specifically called a pairing cable right there. So you have that. So when you're sitting in your truck, you can pair this thing instantly, make sure the camera and the monitor all work. So we're going to do that right now. Let's plug the pairing cable in so that we can hook these two devices up and see if they pair. We'll see how difficult this is. We'll plug in the camera first. It plugs right in there. And then we have this one here. We can plug it into the power inlet on the monitor. Then we can press the button here to turn that power on. Look at that, it powers right up. It says Haloview. And there's obviously a little bit of feedback coming in on this. There, now we've got it muted. Well, that was like the easiest pairing ever. Look at it. There we are. Should be able to see us in that camera. Myself centered up. You think I know how a camera like this works, but I think there's a bit of a delay in the receiving of the signal. But we know everything works, everything pairs, so let's get ourselves to the back of the Airstream and start working on getting this thing put together. So we've got our extension ladder to get up onto the Airstream. I found this. It's from Cosco. I think I have a link to it in our Amazon storefront. But then I just cut a pool noodle and put on there to help protect the Airstream from being scratched. And I just cut a pool noodle to length and then ran a slit down it and then just snaps right over that little tray in the ladder. And it's really worked well so far. You notice the pool noodle I've cut isn't doing me any good in this situation. So I've got a couple other pieces of pool noodle I've cut that we're going to use. I'm going to go fetch those right now and snap them right on. I've seen people use rags and foam and all kinds of things that they just kind of stick there or wrap around their ladder. This truly is the best solution I've found. Just go to some place that sells water stuff and get yourself a big pool noodle, cut it to the right length, and then just cut a slit in it with a knife. I already learned my lesson on this thing. So I'm not sure if it's metric or if it's going to be standard SAE, but we're going to try 7/64 and see if that's the right one. That's a little too big. The 3/32 is too small, so obviously it's metric. Set these aside, grab our metric tools. Right here, 2.5. Jackpot. All right, let's work on getting this thing off of there. And this thing really looks awful, but there's been so much pollen in Florida where we've been. A lot of it is just that. Set these aside. Two. So we got all these screws out now. So we're going to lift the camera up, and then for safekeeping for those, I'm just going to put them right back in these holes right here, and then I've got no chance to lose them. wrench back in its holder here too. Now it's a matter of getting this bracket off and seeing all the wiring that I have to deal with in this situation. Going to use some wire cutters. We might need this, and then I've got a moldized screwdriver as well, because I've got to remove those Phillips screws. You know what else I think I'm going to grab? I'm going to grab some tape, and then I'm going to tape that wire when everything comes loose, just to make sure it doesn't go back down inside the shell of the Airstream. All right, we've got tape. I'm going to set that aside right up here. I've got a set of wire cutters, which also are kind of a plier on the end, and then our Phillips screwdriver. We're going to set those all aside right there, and I think that this will detach from here if I get in there carefully. It may take a little more of a needle nose type plier to get in there. No, that's not happy about it. So let's just leave this here. There's enough weight and no way that can fall back through the hole in the Airstream. So we'll grab our screwdriver, and there's two Phillips head screws right here. We're going to remove. There's one. Here's the other. Just pulls out. There's a simple grommet right there. Very weather tight this appears to be. We're going to clean this up a little bit when we get through with our installation. But this wire definitely has to come off of here somehow to get through this grommet and hole. So we've got to get that figured out yet. Is by removing these screws, I can open up the camera and access the back of that wiring and somehow get this thing taken apart. But if nothing else, we're going to get a chance to look inside this thing and see. Oh my gosh, look at this. You see this thing? It's just full of water. Look at that. That's crazy. That would be a good indication of why it wasn't working. So the board here has got a few screws that come off as well. And again, we're just trying to get to the underside of this so I can see the wire and maybe disconnect something. That one. Does not appear there's any kind of quick connect on this, and I've tried to pull a little bit of the wiring out, and it gets tight, so I don't want to pull too much. So it looks like we're going to be cutting this wire and hard wiring the new camera in. In for a penny, in for a pound. Let's get the wire cutters and cut this wire. There's our old waterlogged camera right there. That thing's a mess. Get this screw off, this bracket off, and that's not going to be falling back through there. There is a grommet right here, so I know I can weather seal that. We've already got two holes in the back of the Airstream. I'm going to line up the new template and we'll see how that works with any of these holes. I'm pretty convinced that I can't use the old bracket anymore, and besides, I like the new one. It's seems to fit a little better, so we'll see how this whole thing mounts in there. You can see I've got the two holes here that the old bracket was screwed into, and of course this is where the wire comes out, and there's my red wire, black wire, and there's the grommet that will seal this all when it goes back in. So I'm going to grab the new camera and the rubber gasket, which is going to be kind of the template. We're going to look, we're going to make sure that this isn't too much of a curve for that to fit and seal, and just to make sure I'm not going to have any water leaks back here in the Airstream. So this is the camera right here, and you can see the back is open. There's a plate that fits right inside this back that helps to seal everything up. And here's the rubber gasket that everything kind of fits over to make sure it all seals up really, really nice. So that's where we're just going to kind of look and see when that screws on. And it appears to me that's right about where it's going to be, that's not going to be an issue, that when that screws tight, that rubber gasket is going to seal in there very, very nicely, and we shouldn't have any water leaks. I'm going to probably run a little bit of Captain Trolleys around everything just to make sure that everything stays sealed up the way it should be. And then we're going to make a few checks along the road to make sure this is sealed up and there's no possibility of water getting into the Airstream at all. So to fit this in there, I'm going to put this grommet back in and seal this up. All right. Grommet's in and placed. So I'm going to take this, stick it all through this center hole. These wires come through the bigger wire. And I can center that all up and mark our holes so that then we're lined up and we can mount our camera in there. Go grab a pencil to mark these holes so that we can prepare to drill so our screws can mount through this housing and get everything sealed up here watertight. We've got our pencil, we're going to mark our holes. I'm going to step down just a little bit so that I can eyeball this and make sure we're square. There, you can change the angle just a little bit after you're mounted. Those holes are angled. So we're going to go dead center, mark it in each one of these holes. We're going to be drilling our 4 holes in there for the camera to mount up. If that doesn't make you nervous. There we go. One thing I am going to do is I'm going to put some black electrical tape over the original holes right here. That'll provide a little more sealing of that. So now it's going to be real gut check time. I'm going to bring the camera up. I've got my wire cutters up here, right here. I'm going to cut and I'm going to strip the wires on the camera so that I can wire it directly in to this. So it'll be hardwired together, and then I'm going to screw the whole thing together. So let's get moving on that. Okay, so we've got our camera with the wires. I've got our back bracket right here that goes in, holds everything together, screws, the wire connectors. I've got our rubber gasket that's going to seal over here. I've got a screwdriver and I've got my wire cutters. So what we need to do is get this thing set up to take our wiring. So their quick connect that they come supplied with, I'm going to cut that. Use the slots in here to trim the wire out. I'm just going to see if I do that as 10 gauge. That isn't enough, so I got to go to 12. And it looks like that's just enough to cut through this thick outer layer. And then it should be able to pull that off of there, right there. Okay, so I have red wire and I have black wire. So we are going to strip those, and there's a green wire that's the ground. Now we don't use that at all in this application, so we're going to just get rid of him altogether. So he's gone. So I have a red wire and a black wire. So then we are going to strip those like that. There. I'll set the camera aside for a minute. Cut these guys a little shorter. All right, so we're going to very carefully strip them with the cutter side, like that. Right there. Now I've got my bared wires, my red and my black. So I want this handy. Here's my wire connectors. The horses are back there talking to us. Actually, there's one horse and there's one donkey. I'll let you meet them a little bit. This stuff has to go through all the various gaskets and holes. So if we don't do this the right way, we're going to have a disaster. So the gasket's going to go in first. So it's there ready to go. And it's all lined up. And our holes all lined right up. Now this has to go through this hole as well. So right up. And this is this is going to set in here, and you know what I did? I put this on backwards. So now I get to cut my wires off and I get to do this whole procedure again. Push the wire back into the Airstream. There's a lip on this gasket that you have to make sure is up and wraps around the camera module. So we have that. Looks like we're pretty lined up right there. So we're going to start putting these screws in to the skin of the Airstream. Again, we're going to put the wrench over top. Make sure everything is good. These multi-screwdrivers are really handy. I've got a couple of them, a couple different brands. I have a link to them in our Amazon storefront, and I find them absolutely invaluable in doing work on the Airstream, inside and out. Now I'm going to start tightening these up all the way around. Make sure this is tight. Make sure that rubber gasket seals to make this watertight, and enough pressure to make sure that flexes a little bit to kind of match our curve of the Airstream. Just need to go get our antenna, mount it right here, and then we can test out the system. We got our antenna, let's get it put on, and then we can test out our system. Our antenna's mounted, and I've got the other system set up in the truck. Let's fire up both systems and see if they connect and see what kind of image we get.
This is their actual feeding. So they each get a thing of carrots. And then there's a bag with pellets. One for JR. He is standing there waiting. He's like, when are you bringing the food? These guys. And they get paid too.
I'm dreaming, and my coffee is steaming, getting colder with time, and I'm wondering if maybe all this dreaming is better left to the night.
Oh, buddy. Like, finally. Finally, huh? Yeah. Oh, no. Let me dump it in. Gotta move so I can dump it in. Watch out. There you go. My goodness. It's like you haven't eaten in days and you just ate yesterday. Here you go, Abigail. She's more shy.
Stay, and I'm home slow. Stay, and I'm home slow. Stay, and I'm home slow. Stay, and just wait. Oh, so tell me that it's gonna be alright. Oh, tell me that it's gonna be just fine. See, I don't know where time is gonna take me, so I'm just gonna take my time. Oh, I'm just gonna take my time.
All right, so we're going to see if the truck and the Airstream hook up with this new system. And I just want to give you an idea how far apart everything is. We're parked right up here, and the Airstream is right back there, and that is a little further than our hitch usually is. So we're going to see if this pairs up at this distance. Okay, we're going to plug the USB connector in. Right like that. And see, the Haloview powers up. And let's see, we get no signal, and bang, there it is. Look at that. Look at that. We've got a signal looking back and behind. That is amazing. This is the video and the audio directly from that BT7 camera system. It has onboard recording as well. So it's almost like having a dash cam except in your rear view mirror. Let us know in the comments below what you think about the video and audio quality of this Haloview BT7 system.